Hi, WAS students. Today, at the request of Frank Tello, I'm going to teach you guys a new type of snare that's a type of small animal trap called a spring trap. So the first thing we need to do to get started on this is we need 2 pegs. So I'm going to cut the pegs off of this little tree and use those. So one needs to be a bit longer and the other one can be pretty short. The long one is going to be hammered into the ground. That'll be the long one. This will be the short one. There it is. Alright, we got our 2 pegs.
Baby pine tree! Baby pine tree!
So I need to make one end of the long peg flat so I can hammer on it like that. So I'm just going to chop it right there. So now it's nice and flat. Alright, so these are the things that we need now. We need a knife, our 2 pegs, and some string to make the noose with. So to make the noose, what you have to do is just tie a little loop in the end of the string. And this doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be any kind of knot that eventually gets you a little loop like that. And then I'm going to feed the other end of the string through that loop. So now I have a noose right here. And the animal will end up eventually walking through there and getting caught. Alright, with the pegs, I need to put some notches in the pegs. So this is my long peg, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a deep notch in near the top of this one. So if you get close, you can see that it's a sharp angle right there, and then this goes gradually down to it. So there's one notch, and then I'm going to be putting a similar notch into this piece. So I'll go ahead and do that here. Now I've got a notch in there, so eventually these 2 notches are going to be hanging on each other like that. Okay? And then the last thing I'm going to do is in this one, I'm going to cut a little groove for the string to go into, because I'm going to be tying the string around this one. But you don't have to watch me do that part. Alright, and there's my notch. So now we're just about ready to set up the trap. Cut. No, cut. Alright, so this is a little tree that I found that we're going to use as the spring for the trap. And so I just need to prep it a little bit so that these branches aren't getting in the way. So I'm going to get this stuff off. Okay. That's all.
This poor tree. I don't know if it's gonna survive. This poor tree.
Alright, so the next thing is I'm going to see where this tree is going to come down to as my spring, and it's right about here. So I'm going to hammer my peg in right here. So now that's stuck in the ground pretty good. And you can see that I've tied our string with the noose on it around that little groove I stuck in the short peg. And so what's going to happen is the short peg is going to hook onto the long peg, and then it's going to tie to my spring up here. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this on like that. I'm just doing a normal square knot or a granny knot, but any knot that won't slip off is fine. So now that's on there. I'm going to hook the short peg onto the long peg using the notches that I've cut, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to set my noose. Remember, it's just that loop that we tied and pulled the string through. And I'm going to set it across where I think the animal might be running. You would put this over like a little game trail or something, and you could even put some bait, like some little bits of food or nuts along here. And how it works is the animal runs through and it keeps moving and it gets pulled up. So it's just hanging from this tree like that. And that's a noose spring trap.
And while it's hanging there, you beat it to death.
One of the advantages to this trap is that if the animal is hanging up here, then it's out of the way of smaller things that might come and take what you've trapped from you and try to eat it. And it's harder for it to get loose if it's hanging upside down. Alright, so we've got our little animal that comes walking through, goes through the noose, starts to pull it, and he gets taken with the spring trap. Now he's hanging up here. Like that.